All right, we're going to go ahead and get started here. Unfortunately, the mayor's running a little behind, so I will go ahead and start the meeting here to get us rolling on time. If I can't have a call to order, please. Or actually, a roll call, sorry.
Okay, roll call. Ms. Bourne.
Here.
Mr. Kuhlman.
Here.
Ms. Matroni.
Here.
Mr. Matuzak.
Here.
Mr. McCarthy. Mr. Smith.
Here.
And Mr. Van Hoosen.
Here.
Thank you.
All right, with them, let's stand up and do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. And with that, we're going to do things a little different than we did at the we did the whole. We did the presentation first and the citizen concern second. So before we actually go with the presentation, I would like to invite anybody from the public who would like to step up and speak or ask a question. Please know that some of the questions may not be answered until we actually have the presentation. But if you would like to come up here at this time, this would be the time for the public to come up and voice their concerns on or support on the DORA. And if you can, please state your name and address for the record.
I take this now.
Yes, fine.
Is this on? My name is Vale Baroni Parrott. I live 1 block over from the proposed DORA corridor. My family and I enjoy walking uptown for dinner and drinks, and I also come from a restaurant family. I have always made my decisions based on facts, and I would encourage council as elected stewards of the city to do the same. I've read the Uptown DORA proposal, and the only fact I see in this proposal is that 70% of revenue comes from food sales and 30% from alcohol sales. The proposal also states that security cameras will monitor people. I find this monitoring is being subjective, open to interpretation, and not factual. The fact is, I've seen drunk people walking home from uptown vomit, urinate, and pass out on the sidewalk in our block of 3 houses long. My next door neighbor even had a drunk person enter their house at 1:30 in the morning. These are facts that uptown cameras will not monitor. If food sales are 70% of revenue, why are these uptown businesses not open 7 days a week as their lowest common counterparts are? I remember a while back, we voted on Sunday liquor sales and that passed. Why aren't they using that option? Another question that I have is where does the responsibility fall if a drunk driver leaving the DORA has an accident? Do restaurants all equally share the responsibility? Is the city responsible? And my last question involves the retail establishments. Has anyone interviewed retail shops and other DORA locations to see if there has been damage to properties or merchandise in their stores? Obviously, I oppose the DORA. We moved to Perrysburg 30 years ago because it represented the values we looked for when raising a family. I urge council to uphold these values and protect the quality of life of the residents in the uptown area and vote no on this uptown DORA. Thank you.
If you can, please come up and state your name and address for the record.
My name is Leah Skotinsky, and my home address is 101 Rockledge. Our business address is 213 Louisiana. So we've been downtown since 99. We've had no issues ever, no vomit, no nothing. And I just find that potentially opposing it is out of fear rather than progress. Okay?
What's the nature of your business uptown?
So, we're a wealth management firm.
Okay. And I'm assuming you're in favor of a DORA?
Correct. Yeah, we're in favor of progress and bringing more people to downtown in a fashion where it's restaurants. It's not bars, it's restaurants. Now, previously, when you had Bunkers and you had Shamrock and you had TK's, those were bars. We don't have that. So we have upscale restaurants.
So is it safe to say that you believe that your business would benefit from a DORA?
I think we would be neutral.
Oh, you're for a DORA.
Yes, as a resident. Yeah, as a resident, I think it would be nice to be able to walk downtown with a glass of wine. Yes. Okay.
Ms. Lipinski, don't you live in Perrysburg Township, not the city?
We
of
do now.
Perrysburg?
We just moved 9 months ago, 10 months ago. But yeah, our business is in downtown Perrysburg and has been for years.
So you're not a Perrysburg resident?
We are a Perrysburg business, but we live in Rockledge now,
okay, so
as of August of 19.
Okay, so as far as in a Perrysburg business, you don't think you would benefit one way or the other from a DORA?
Matt, what's your opinion?
I don't see any benefit since our office is closed during those business hours.
Yeah, I don't see a benefit or a con. We just feel neutral
Okay.
as far as.
Just wanted to be clear.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I have a question for you.
Sure.
Do you frequent? Oh,
No,
Yes.
she was about to step away, so no, you're good.
Gotcha. Do you frequent the downtown businesses,
Yes.
the restaurants in
Oh,
particular?
absolutely. Oh, 100%. They're fabulous. They're upscale. You're going to go to Swig, you're going to spend $12 to $13 for a burger. This isn't a bar joint.
Okay. Do you
It's
think
a restaurant upscale?
it is likely to make you go visit more frequently?
Well, yeah, I would think so, yes.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Anyone else?
Thank you. Anybody else would like to come up and speak on the comment on this? If you can, please say your name and address for the record.
Sure. I'm Angel Eldon, and I live at 409 West 2nd Street in Perrysburg. And I also own the business at 101 Louisiana Avenue on the corner there. I own a flower and gift shop. And we generally close, well, right now, after COVID, we close at 5, but other times we stay till 6, and sometimes we stay later if there's a lot of business. And my husband and I both feel strongly that we are for the DORA. I see it as a nice window shopping opportunity. I don't see it as an added drinking affair, if you will. I think that if someone is going to Stella's or Zingo's, well, Zingo's doesn't have alcohol, but down the street, and they can get a cocktail and just stroll while they're waiting for their table, I don't see it as people just lots and lots of drinking. And another thought that I had is people are walking around oftentimes with, bottles and cups and things like that. We don't know what they have in their cup, and we've never had a problem if the case they did have alcohol, just like your cup you're about to sip. Cheers. Anyway, so I'm for it. I've never had any problems. I live, down farther. I've been a Perrysburg resident all my life, and I've never, I just haven't experienced the problems with those restaurants. I've never even really seen anybody.
Making sure to let everybody
Yeah, like Statinsky said, that I don't see our restaurants as real drinking facilities. I haven't even seen people really out of hand there. So I just wanted to let you know that I am a retail business owner, and I think it's important now because unfortunately we lost a really great business due to COVID, and we lost a second business due to COVID, and it certainly was not because of DORA. So that's what I have to say. Anybody?
Would anybody else like to step up and say anything on this?
Yeah, he's been up there. John was up there, so.
Take this off because last time I was bending over. Hi, my name is Alex Ward. I'm a resident at 117 Cherry Street in Uptown or Downtown Perrysburg. I've learned in the last 2 years it's pretty contentious, so I want to make sure I placate all sides on that matter. I can only speak from my own experience. I love downtown Perrysburg. I love walking down that area, but I can only tell you how much more I would love it and enjoy the farmer's market if I bought a beer from Swig. That they have an excellent lineup of craft beers, not beers that you traditionally would be drinking at high quantities. I wouldn't recommend that for anyone for any reason. And I think that the opportunity to window shop, especially during the farmers markets and other periods, would help a lot of the businesses downtown. I know that going down to the antique shops is something that we do when the restaurants are busy. time we put in our name and walk around and window shop there can only be enhanced by having a beverage that also supports that restaurant and viewing all those other communities. So, and just want to again voice my support for the proposal. As a resident that's 2 blocks away, I can only see how it benefits our quality of life rather than detract from it. Thanks.
Alex, I have a
Yes.
question for you. What do you do?
I work at Tron Air, it's a company up by the airport, and I was a finance manager, now I'm a general manager for a business segment there.
Thank you.
Yes.
Anybody else like to speak? Mr. Orchard, do you want to speak?
Yes, please.
Can we bring a mic to you, Mr. Orchard?
Yeah, with your permission, Ira.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.
Thank you. You all hear me? Okay. My name is John Orser. My address is 125 East Front Street in the city, and I am a registered voter. I'm going to start out with what I have to say with a sort of a personal disclaimer. I personally consume alcoholic beverages on a regular basis. I drink them at home, or I go to restaurants and have them with meals. I don't go to bars because at my age there are more interesting things to do, but when I was a kid, I went to bars like all other kids do. So I'm not in any way complaining about the idea of serving alcohol in bars. But there are several issues that either haven't been addressed or haven't been focused on that I would like to offer to you today. First one is that your own city staff has recommended that this not be adopted in its current form. It was done in a written memo which all of you received. The key issue in it is, it says the lack of formal organization of the DORA participating businesses, lack of private security, and lack of private sanitation management as currently proposed places an increased burden on municipal oversight. Without increased internal organization and controls, staff cannot recommend the downtown DORA as presented. Second issue is the proposed boundaries of the DORA are adjacent to residential areas and in close proximity to 3 churches, the Way Library, and the school administration building. Next issue is that you usually find DORAs in what are called entertainment districts. Downtown Perrysburg is not an entertainment district. It is mixed retail. People come for a variety of reasons. They come to patronize the restaurants, they go to the retail stores, and there are services where people have offices where people come to meet with their advisors, lawyers, real estate, things of that nature. If this is passed, what is most likely going to happen is you're going to see a decrease of those people because they're not going to have to want to wade through a party to get to the places. That would mean the four entities that are asking for this, that now exist, will probably see a slight increase in alcohol sales, and they'll see a decrease in food sales. This would encourage them to just become bars. And we have a lot of problem with bars. Some of those of you have lived here. The whole 200 block of Louisiana back some years ago was loaded with bars. They were a constant source of problem, and they didn't have DORA. The problems went on in the bars. Now, if you have this happen, then the town is going to change dramatically in what it is from what it is now. And the overall issue is that Perrysburg is a family-friendly community. I don't believe that people who are very recent arrivals, they're welcome to come to live here, but they should learn something about the city before they start trying to change it. Because we have an asset here that people from all over the country come and say, wow, this is really great. We wish we had something like this at home. And there is no reason whatsoever to try to change this into an entertainment district. Thank you.
John, I have a couple questions for you. So, when we're talking about the businesses that aren't part of the food industry or alcohol industry and the effects on them, it sounds like you're kind of concerned that it's going to make more bars come in. Is that fair to say?
No, I said I think it would make, what I said is that they're going to lose customers because their normal customers are not want to come to an entertainment district which is open 7 days a week, 365 days a year, from 12 noon until 11 at night. I think there's been a lot of misinformation that has been spread about this. When we talk to people and they say things like, oh, well, that's just for special events. Well, it's not. It's for every day of the year. And the special events we do have, Farmers Market, First Fridays, Harrison Rally Days, they've always been family oriented. Have the families come with their kids and enjoy themselves, and they're not going to have to want to wade through drunks to go and do this.
Okay, so what about this legislation, or who have you talked to, or perhaps people that have implemented this, other cities that have implemented it, have given you the impression that this is going to turn Perrysburg into a party zone, or that it's going to make drunks more prevalent? Because I've gotten the exact opposite, everyone I've talked to. So I'm just curious where you're...
Well, I'll be honest with you, I have no interest in what Sylvania does. Sylvania doesn't have a downtown, it's got a block. I know what they have in the downtown Toledo DORA. You want to go down and look at it, and look at what it looks like now. This is going to change.
What about Powell? What about Kent, Ohio? What about those other places?
As I said to you, they would like to have what we have. It's very important that you understand that. Everybody comes here and wants what we have, and a lot of them can't do it because they've already destroyed it.
Okay, so I get that portion. That's not really where my question was coming from. I was just curious what made you feel like this is going to turn downtown into a party district, or what evidence of that happening somewhere else, or is there any evidence of that happening somewhere else?
The evidence is what happens when a bunch of people get together and go outside and start drinking. And in other days, I've been to a lot of things like that. I'll give you, I don't know if you've ever been to the German American Festival. Most people know you don't go to the German American Festival on Saturday night.
Okay, but that's...
Can I finish my sentence, please? You go on Friday when it's the opening ceremonies, or you go on Sunday when it is the closing ceremonies, and it's a very nice thing. But Saturday night at the German American Festival is drunk night. If you've ever been there and seen it, you would not want to see that replicated here.
Okay, is the German American Festival in the DORA district? Or is that in a special event?
It's in a park.
Okay, so it's a special event?
It's a park, yeah.
Right.
It was owned by the German American Society.
Right.
So what's your point?
So that's not a DORA district, I mean, so it sounds like you're concerned maybe with events that we might permit.
I'm concerned about the fact that if they had the German American Festival 365 days a year, it would be like that 365 days a year.
Corey, I think what it might be, I don't want to put words in your mouth, John.
Sir?
I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think if there's a parallel you can draw from that, it is that the German American Festival is using alcohol to lure people in for economic gain. And the question is, are the people that are pro-DORA looking to use alcohol to lure people in for economic gain?
It sure seems like it.
It would just be, it wouldn't be to the same degree, but it would be...
Yeah, I mean,
the same motivation.
If the only reason somebody, if you're looking at this totally dispassionately, who would say, okay, well, this will increase my liquor sales. If I am one of the establishments that have the permission to sell, use the cups and have people go outside. Now, the question is, how much does this mean they can't drink in the bar because there's not room? I don't really think that's an issue now. I think it also should be mentioned, since you brought it up, there was mention of COVID, and this proposal was made in 2019. There was, at that time, none of us ever thought we'd be living like this with masks and whatever. I mean, it's It was done purely and simply because the business owners who wanted this thought they'd increase their liquor sales, and that's the only reason. This stuff about going around and shopping, eat and window shopping is absurd. I mean, if people want to walk around and window shop, they can do that. And that is not my experience that drunks go around and window shop. And people who want to window shop don't need to be drunk. Does that answer your question?
Well, I didn't have a question. I was just trying to make an inference from that. I guess we've had one person come up and speak so far that owns a business uptown Perrysburg that is not a restaurant or does not serve alcohol.
I think we're about that.
Okay, okay. Mr. Kinski, if I say it right, I'm sorry. I can say my name and it's not much easier. And I think she said, you know, she can't predict whether it's gonna, I don't want to hold you to it, but you can't, nobody can predict whether it's going to increase your business or hurt your business. We're not going to know until that happens, if that happens.
I would suggest also that there are a lot of ways to promote people coming downtown other than giving them drinks.
Okay. Please let me finish, okay?
I'm sorry, I thought you
It's okay. So I would be interested in knowing if there's anybody here that represents a business uptown Perrysburg that is not a restaurant or a bar that thinks that by enacting this legislation and creating a DORA would actually increase their business. Because I want to get a real good feel for whether people think this DORA is something that we want to do because it's going to help businesses economically, or if it's because they think it's just a way of life that they would prefer to see in Perrysburg. I mean, I do recall about 3 years ago, I was sitting up here and I was told what an economic boon Riverside Park is going to be. And I think with that boon right now, there probably isn't even a need for any more people uptown Perrysburg because you're making so much money with all the people that park is drawing to uptown Perrysburg right now. And I can't believe you now want yet another program to pile on top of that one to bring even more business in because some of us were talking into making a bad decision about 3 years ago, and now we're being asked to make yet another decision to draw more people uptown Perrysburg. I think what's really going to draw the people is your product and your service. And I mean, if DORA wasn't an option, and it's only been an option just in the last couple of years, nobody had the bright idea of coming up with some legislation and presenting it to come up with this idea of being able to serve alcohol outside. We just accepted that you couldn't. And now that somebody down in Columbus has decided, well, let's make this an option, suddenly people are interested in it. So I guess another rhetorical question I would have is, what is it that you want to do 3 years from now that isn't yet legislated that says you can do it that you'd really like to do? Maybe we can focus on that too, rather than wait for someone in Columbus to tell us, no, now we think it's okay to sell marijuana uptown Perrysburg. Because that might be the case 3 years from now. So I mean, it never ends. Thank you.
Are you done, Don?
Yes, I am.
I have a question too, but you want to speak though?
Let him speak if that's okay.
I think he's a probably appropriate person to speak. I think he came up because of the
Go ahead, if you can state your name and address for the record.
Good evening. Sorry. My name is Matt Temby. I'm the owner of True Fit Perrysburg, which is a gym in downtown Perrysburg on 2nd Street at 117 East 2nd Street. So our gym is based on community, health, and fitness in that order. And we build everything that we do focuses back on community. So to answer, James, your question, my business is not going to live or die based on DORA, but we're heavily involved with DPI. We're the largest volunteer provider for all the DPI events, and it's something that we build meaningful relationships with our members by doing things to serve the community. And typically those events are held either on 2nd Street or on 3rd Street, and directly in front of our building you look at Zip the Bird, which was a race last August. We actually partnered with DPI to host a summer concert series in our parking lot. We have one of the largest footprints in the city, and at those events, we did that in June, July, and August. We had kids camps inside, we had activities for kids outside, we had the beer garden in the back where the activities for children were, We had 2 police officers that were staffed, and we didn't have any issues. We had over 1,000 people at those events, at each of those events. So the reason that I'm in favor of DORA is because of where we're located and the amount of members that we have coming into our gym that spend their time in downtown Perrysburg. It's something that they're in favor for. So I'm really voicing something that, we have 200 members in our community, and this is something that, again, it's not live or die as far as it passing, but it enhances things that people are doing downtown. Some of the comments, and I want to be respectful of everybody's opinions. I don't see, because of the status that downtown Perrysburg has in general. I've been a resident for 6 years, and it's not something that I see a lot of belligerence when it comes to alcohol, specifically in downtown. So I don't, the clientele that we see for the local businesses, I don't see a whole lot of that right now, and I don't think that passing this is going to, as one of the residents said, this isn't going to lead to mass consumption. I think it's probably, it's very similar to the regular consumption. They're just doing it outside of the restaurants, and they're carrying that around during a farmer's market or during a First Friday, during a Harrison Rally Day, which would be later on in the evening after the crowd is mostly gone. So again, that's why I'm in favor of this.
Matt, first of all, I'm glad that your business is doing well.
Thank you.
And I'm glad you kept the old post office as it is, and also the former Welch Publishing place as is. But where do you live? Because I'm a little confused, because I looked you up and I saw that you lived, I thought, out of town.
I live in the township, so I live just past Eckel, or just off Eckel.
Okay, and then did you send an email out recently where you said something about you were from Michigan and you were looking to meet somebody, or?
No, so Perrysburg has become my home. So I was a store director for Target for 9 years, transferred to Perrysburg, and I fell in love with the community. And the reason that I opened the gym is because community is a gift that I have, bringing people together. And it just fit with this area, and so to your reference, looking to meet somebody, I plan to meet my future wife here, raise my family here, and share life with our members and people of the community. We don't charge anything for the summer concert series. That's open to everyone, because we want to share life with people, and we want to draw people in.
Matt, let me ask you a question. How do you feel, since you are a fitness organization, how does that fit with DORA? Because I believe 2nd Street is not part of DORA.
It's not, that's correct. We're still in favor of that being downtown, because again, it promotes community. I think that it's something that a lot of residents will enjoy, again, in moderation, and how that ties in with health and fitness. We do nutrition coaching at the gym as well. But you're not going to go to one, from your current lifestyle to an extreme. Most people don't make that leap. It's small steps over time to lead to sustainable changes, which leads to a lifestyle change. So, as far as consumption of alcohol, that's something that a lot of members do, but, we encourage that in moderation that matches their goals that they're trying to achieve.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
I have a couple questions.
Don't walk away.
Yeah, you're going to be up here for a little while.
All right.
So I've known you for a couple of years now. It's fair to say I've been to your gym. Love what you're doing there. I love that the post office remains intact. I think that's one of the prizes of going there as part of the history. First, I believe you didn't even mention this, but I'll mention it for you. You don't drink, do you?
I don't.
Okay. You are not currently part of the proposal. Would you like to be? Do you wish DORA extended to 2nd Street on your side?
I would, for sure. And I can't speak for the other 2nd Street owners, business owners, but again, with the footprint that we have, with the space that we have, with the community events that we have, it would make a lot of sense to be included in that, just because of the proximity to where people are at.
Now, do you have, I think this kind of maybe gives us an insight on non-food and beverage businesses, how they can potentially embrace the idea of DORA and maybe making it marketable for themselves. Do you have some business plans potentially for, if DORA gets implemented, how to use that to help grow your business or help bring economic growth to your business?
Absolutely. So again, going back to those community events, if you look at space where family or friends are going to sit and have a drink outside of a few benches on Louisiana or in front of Swig, or even the new establishments on 3rd Street, we would like to put a picnic table at our property, as well as a matching public trash can. So we have the public restrooms are right across from our building, so we get something that matches that same decor, that same style, so that fits in with the look of downtown Perrysburg. So on that table would be some form of mural, similar to what we have inside the post office with Commodore Perry and the troops at Fort Meigs. And then there would be a QR code for a pass to come into the gym so they can experience that. So they get to experience that community piece that we do outside the gym of building relationships, but then they get to come in, they get to experience the fitness piece as well.
Matt, are you aware that you need to go to historic landmarks for all of that? Because you're in the historic district.
Yep. Yeah, we did that with the signage when we first opened.
So, yeah, you're fine.
Thanks for speaking out, Matt. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
And appreciate the service that you offer your business. You said you had about 200 members, is that what you said?
Yep.
How are you doing on space right now?
How are we doing on space?
Yeah, are you outgrowing your building, or do you have room to grow to 300, 400?
Yeah, so my estimation is that we have room for 300 in the upstairs. We've already started the process of looking at expansion into the basement. And so we will be offering yoga at some point in the near future. We were on the brink of rolling that out in March before everything started to close down. So it hasn't been a good time as far as what our business looks like. But we will expand into the basement, which will give us the offerings to offer personal training both upstairs, downstairs during our non-peak hours, as well as running multiple styles of sessions, which we currently offer.
Well, my hope is that you continue to grow.
Thank you.
And quadruple in size because of what you do.
Thanks.
If you don't want to answer this, don't, but do you own the building that you operate out of?
I don't.
So you have a lease?
I do.
Do you mind saying how long that lease is right now?
Yep, it's a 5-year lease with a 5-year option, and it's my option to pick that up, which I've already been in negotiations. John Wellstein owns that building. He owns several buildings in downtown, but it's something that we've already discussed.
Okay, so you're nearing your first term, completion of your first term then? Sounds like?
I'm 18 months in, so I still have.
Oh, really?
Just
You're
over
negotiating your 5-year option?
Yeah, because we want to extend into the basement, so that's going to be a lot of renovations. So for me to do that, I would want to make sure that I'm there longer term.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense.
Yep.
Matt, you had mentioned you wanted to expand onto 2nd Street. My concern is about the residents and the church and the preschool and all of that would be affected by a DORA. Have you thought about that?
I have, yeah. And again, I don't know what a revision to DORA as far as the boundaries go. I don't think it makes a ton of sense for Kazmaiers to be included in that. I don't think that people are going to be shopping, drinking.
Well, in reality, I mean, if people want to go buy alcohol, they can just go to Kazmaiers and buy it.
Right, but they wouldn't be, walking around with open intox if there wasn't DORA that wasn't passed.
Yeah, I just feel that I'm glad that the downtown is there. I'm glad the businesses are there, but I don't think alcohol is really going to be the way to bring people in. I think it's the businesses. This was pointed out to me by somebody I know that's 28. They said, why don't they just market themselves better downtown?
For sure. Yeah, and this isn't, my point isn't I need help marketing my business. This is something that enhances things that we already do with community. People that will come to our space for the free community events that we already offer that may not know that we're there, and then they see the things that we're doing that we're just offering as a free service to the community. The live music, the beer gardens, the food trucks, the free kids camp inside. That's a way for them to experience a little bit of who we are and what we do. And then we do extended trials for them to experience our fitness camps. We also have free childcare that's included in membership. And the reason that we do that is because we want to support families so they have the opportunity to train together.
Okay, I guess I don't quite understand if you are a health organization, and you're about fitness, why you're about promoting drinking. It's basically drinking in the streets is what we're talking about here.
Yeah, so it's not promoting alcoholism. So I've been sober for almost 5 years.
Good for you.
So that's kind of to Corey's point, but and I've been in fitness for 19 years. It's something I've been doing since I was a teenager, college football throughout my athletic career, and then competed in bodybuilding for 7 years as well. So you don't have to, you can still reach your goals while alcohol is part of your life. And again, we're not promoting rampant drinking and binge drinking. This is drinking that people are doing inside a restaurant, and they're finishing their beer when they go, walking to wherever.
Well, right now they can already drink in the establishments that serve alcohol.
For sure.
And the ones that are fenced in, they can sit out there. So I still don't understand why people need to go up and down the street with a cup. It just does not make sense to me.
And that might not necessarily be for you, but I think that there are a lot of residents that would do that.
I haven't heard that.
I'm one of them.
Okay, but he may be one of them, but
I think that's why we're.
Let's kind of get back down to the.
Yeah, I think that's why we're here.
Questions and hands here. I know Mr. Tuzik has another question he'd like to ask.
I wasn't finished.
Okay, sorry.
Sorry about that. So I was asking you some questions about the size of your business, whether you own the property and where you're at in the lease. All I'm trying to do is assess your commitment to the community. Because I'm not interested in someone's opinion that's not going to be here in a year or in 2 years, because you don't live in the city. You have a business uptown. If your business outgrows that building, you're not going to be uptown, and you're going to be one of the people who've been up here making a lot of valid points, and you're very articulate, and you're a very likable person, and so I'm interested in your opinion. And then if I find out 18 months from now you're in Sylvania, or you're down in Bowling Green, or out in Millbury, because you needed some cheap property in a big building, then I based the decision on an opinion that I probably shouldn't have, which is why I asked those questions.
Sure.
You gave me a plethora of reasons on why Uptown Perrysburg is such a nice place. So does the cliche, if it's not broke, why fix it, apply here?
No, I think the Skatinskis mentioned that we're in an era of change, right? The whole world is changing right now, and we're embracing.
By definition, time is change, so we're never not changing.
That's true, but as far as we're all wearing face masks, there's hand sanitizer everywhere, and so as far as our members go, we've offered online training this year. We've offered a lot of different online coaching in lieu of physical, being in person with their memberships, and we have to make decisions that's best for the good of the community. And sometimes we have, it's very much like this room. There's some people in favor of some of our decisions, and there's some people that aren't. And my team and I have to make decisions for the best of the good of the group. And ultimately, I think that's why you guys are here, and you're hearing out the residents and the business owners. And back to your point of, how do you know that I'm going to be here long term? Well, I don't know if anybody of us really have certainty if we're going to be here for long term, but when I first opened my gym, so this is a franchise gym, and I signed for 3 locations. So ideally I was going to open one in downtown Toledo and one in Sylvania, and after I had reserved the right to open 3, even though I paid that fee, I have waived that right, because I really just want to focus on building one in Perrysburg, because I see the potential that we can do here. And to be frank with you, I don't want to space my time and my energy, because I want to have a family, and I want that family to be raised right here in Perrysburg, and I want to service one community, which is the Perrysburg community. And so I'm playing a long game, both with my business and with my residents here in Perrysburg. I'm very involved with the schools through the business, because it's something that's important to me, and even though I won't benefit with that for 7 to 10 years. It's something that I was in favor for with levies, I voted yes for, and will continue to support the schools and things that I think add value to the community as a greater good.
Is any part of your advocacy for a DORA having to do with you just being a good neighbor with the other businesses uptown Perrysburg that want a DORA?
No, it's really for what we do with community. Again, it's those events that we do. I think that it's something that we already had. We had to get special permits to have alcohol in our parking lot to be able to sell that, in conjunction with DPI. And so that just allows somebody to go from our parking lot over to, whatever might be on 3rd Street. and finish.
Another thing you might want to consider, if DORA brings all this economic gain to uptown Perrysburg and all these businesses start making more money, the value of the real estate's going to go up. And if you don't own it, the value of the rents are going to go up because it's going to be a more sought after place. So if it's as successful as you think it will be for your neighbors who sell beer, negotiate that 5-year term now because your rents are going to go up.
It's already negotiated.
Okay, thanks.
It was negotiated when I first signed the first term.
In reference, Jim makes some good points, but one thing I disagree with is the historic district holds up people's property values, and I think this will lessen property values throughout the city. And people come here because they love the way it is, and the historic district is a historic district for a reason. It's cool, you might admit,
For sure.
and progressive as it is. So any community that's got a good community has a historic district. So I think we should leave the historic district alone. I think that the downtown businesses are great. I have always patronized them, as well as other businesses in Perrysburg, but I don't think this is the answer.
In terms of what you're sharing, I agree. You know, the historic district is important to the city and the community. I think that you look at my neighbor on 2nd Street, I think it's 111 East 2nd Street, which is falling down, which has all kinds of eyesore issues. That is something that has not been allowed to change, and that's not an issue that really involves me to a great extent, but I would love a business that is a space that's used next door, a space that is not an eyesore to the beautiful space that we have, the beautiful bank right next to us, that, you know, Kazmier's has a beautiful building as well, and just to hold that building there that's falling down for the sake of history, I don't know if that's necessarily the right thing to do.
Matt, just so you're aware, that used to be the House of Tradition. I do know the owners, they're nice people, but they've now moved to North Carolina.
Yep, I'm aware.
And I had mentioned them to them before because they'd asked me about that. I said, you could apply for historic tax credits through the state of Ohio to help you do your building. So I don't know if they ever looked into that or not.
Yeah, I know that they've been working on that for 18 plus months.
Is there any other questions for the gentleman up here?
That's true.
I want to offer an observation. Is this working? I think we're going to discourage. I don't have any questions for you, man. I just wanted to make the observation that this is supposed to be a public hearing, I think, to hear citizens offer their views. This has more the feel.
I can barely hear.
This has more the feel of a Senate committee hearing where these poor people come up and get cross-examined like they're a witness. I'd like to hear what people think. I think we should ask questions to make sure we're clear. But I think we discourage public comment when we then have to make a speech at them and say, how do you respond to that? The gentleman just stood up to offer some observations, and all of a sudden it's like he's going to debate. I don't feel that's appropriate tonight. And I don't intend to do it. Others may choose to do so, but I don't think that's what we should be doing here tonight.
I appreciate your comments. I don't feel like it's been like that. I appreciate the dialogue that we've had, and I hope it's been productive for everyone.
Is there anybody else who would like to at this time come up and give any input on this? I'll give that.
Thanks, man.
Hi there, my name is...
Microphone's missing there.
Yes, my name is Izzet. I'm a 14-year Perrysburg resident and also 14 years of representing of Hilton Garden Inn as well as the hotel next door. I am not here to inquire about the goods, bads, and uglies of DORA. Everybody has their own opinion, and our finest selected or elected people gonna make a decision on that based on hearing everything. My question is, did we ever calculate it how much it's gonna cost to the city and how it is gonna be financed? That's what I would like to know.
Make sure to bring that up. Is there anybody else who would like to comment input? If anybody would like to come and sit a little closer, that would be great as well, so that we have an idea.
Hi, my name is Joy Carson. I live at 125 East 7th, Perrysburg. I've lived here for almost 30 years. What I'd like to say is that Perrysburg is a very nice place to live. I grew up here. I've been here since I was 4. The beauty of Perrysburg is that, frankly, we don't have people walking around with alcohol all the time. I work downtown. I've seen that. It's not a neighborhood. This is a neighborhood. I guess my big question is, I don't really understand how the DORA works with businesses that aren't selling alcohol. Can anybody help me with that? Are they allowed to walk into those businesses?
Ms. Carson, if I may, I've spoken with some of them in Perrysburg and some of them in Sylvania, and they said they don't care for the fact that they have to police the alcohol coming in from people. They don't like them touching their merchandise. They don't care for that.
I've read that in some of the places that are in mid-Ohio. I just wondered if we had a different setup here, or if we were suggesting a different setup.
I believe that we've had a few businesses come up and speak today, so it'd be curious to see how everyone else feels on this as well.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because I don't know if I was walking into a store and somebody came in and spilled beer on the floor, I'd be very happy. And I certainly don't think the person who owned the business would be very happy. That's just my thought. But that's not the only thought I have. I really wonder, in requesting a DORA, there are only 5? Is it 5 restaurants that are requesting it, or are there more?
I believe it's about 5.
5? Okay.
5 and 6.
All right. So the question is, what do they get out of that besides selling alcohol that's going to walk down the street? And then they're losing the next sale. I don't really understand that.
I believe they'll touch on that in their presentation as well.
Okay. Well, I don't understand how that works and how that would make more money for that facility or that restaurant. And more importantly, I understand that it's not going to be policed. Is that correct? Police will not be around to watch
Police
it?
will be patrolling as they normally will,
Okay.
if this does pass.
Okay. So, if I had a beer or a mixed drink, I could just walk wherever I wanted to, look and see if there's a policeman around, and if not, I could go somewhere else, right?
Saying that you're allowed to, I would say that you wouldn't be allowed to do that regardless.
Well, but it wouldn't stop people.
Would you be tempted to?
Sure. I mean, why not? I might want to walk down to 5th Street. I don't know. I mean, why wouldn't people be tempted? Is maybe a better question.
Would you like us to extend it down to 5th Street?
No, I don't want it at all.
Okay, I'm just...
No, I don't. I mean, I don't think that it belongs next to an ice cream parlor where there's a lot of kids that are going to be there anyway. That's my thought. But does the city get anything out of this? It's just a question. Does this
I think that's a good question, but it's the same questions that I have too. About sanitation, about security,
right?
Additional taxes to pay for the services.
And will we see a tax go on the city to cover the problems that may or may not occur? I mean, that's the next question that one would ask.
I don't think if this passed, I don't think anybody up here, and I can't speak for everyone, but I don't think anybody would be looking to increase taxes.
Well, you may not be now. I don't know, like, who knows? That's just it, we don't know. Yes?
Jim Matuzak, I'm chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee.
Good.
You said, what does the city get out of it? I'm curious what you mean by that. What will they get out of it financially, or
whatever? Yeah, financially, obviously.
So that's a loaded question. There could be a bunch of answers to that. What are you thinking when you say that?
Well, I don't know. I don't understand why the city would want to do this. If it's gonna take more time,
When you say the city, do you mean
Perrysburg.
the people that are employed by the city, or do you mean the
Well,
community?
I
or
think the city government is who
city
I'm
government?
talking
What does the city
about.
government get out of this?
Yeah, I mean, here we are talking about something where, you know, obviously there is going to come up, there will be problems that none of us could see right now. There may be wonderful things that happen that none of us can see right now. But, you know, let's pretend for a moment that we need to, I don't know, take care of garbage more often. How's that work?
I think indirectly the answer to your question is the city doesn't think they would get anything out of it, because if I understand right, Mr. Orson said that the city has proposed that we don't accept it. I would assume it's because they don't think they're going to get anything out of it, or the costs are going to exceed the benefits as it currently is presented. If somebody wants to speak on behalf of the city to answer that question, but
I'm just asking questions things that I
No,
haven't been
good-
able to read about
Good
or
question.
find information about anywhere.
Yeah, so I'm gonna try to tackle some of these, and I don't know if they're direct answers for you,
Okay.
but I can give you my understanding. So as far as businesses that don't serve food and beverage, I don't, were you at the last meeting?
No, I
where they gave it?
wasn't.
Okay.
No.
So most of the information I'm providing is gonna be from that,
All right.
I believe. So I believe there is an option, and maybe Laura can speak to this. I think it might have been a question I asked her after the meeting. I believe the businesses that are not food and beverage businesses can opt to not allow the people in that do have open containers, but they can also opt in to allow people with open containers into their establishment. That will be their choice. They're a private business, okay? To go to I think you said something about selling one beer and then them walking away.
Right.
During the presentation last week, it was someone from Sylvania, I believe, said it's helped them, especially during COVID. And I know I don't want to stand up here or sit up here and pretend like this whole decision is all related to COVID. It's not. It goes deeper than that. But one of the issues they're currently facing because of COVID is extended wait times because of the amount of people that can go in. So they've appreciated the fact that they can sell a beer to someone that can go drink it outside, socially distanced, while they're going through their increased wait time. They found that it helps keep people there and occupied while they're waiting for a table. So I believe that answers that one.
Kind of.
And from the towns I talked to Powell, Ohio. I said that I believe at the last meeting. That was a different DORA. It was introduced by the city administration rather than the business owners. It was approved for a weekend, and a lot of the businesses, from what it sounded to me, I went down there for that weekend, and then I talked to the city manager and everything after that. They got a lot of thank yous from the businesses that were non-food and beverage. And I'm relying completely on hearsay. This is not my evidence. I asked for the report. I haven't gotten it yet. But he said he got calls from several local businesses that own boutiques and things like that had increased their sales significantly. Now that isn't directly reflective to what we're doing because that was a special weekend. So there is a difference there. And I'm not sure what the other.
So strike everything you just.
No, they were testing it. It was a pilot weekend. They weren't improving it for full time yet. That was kind of their. And it's almost like having a special event, in my opinion. So it bolsters that data.
Like we do during ice sculpture or whatever.
Correct. So to me, that's a more direct comparison. What were some of your other? The way the city sees money. I think what we're all trying to do up here is tap into our resources around town and kind of see what our friends, our business owners want Perrysburg to grow into. And I think that's what we're all trying to decipher. So the benefit is for Perrysburg as a whole and our residents that, you know, if I'm gonna vote yes for something, it's because the people I've talked to and I've reached out to, a bulk majority of them had said, yes, I want to support this thing. And I've done that especially with this issue. And the responses I have got are more in favor of DORA than not.
Have you done anything specific, like send out Oh,
So I have a Facebook page.
No. Has the city sent out anything to people about that?
I don't control that. I believe we did the notice.
I mean, that would be an interesting possibility, I would think, to find what people really think, because obviously there are a lot of people here tonight, but not nearly the people that we have in our community, obviously.
Right. So one of the difficult things we have whenever we do a study like that, it costs money to get people here. I know we went through normal avenues, but for instance, we're doing economic development study, I think, right? Or a city planning study that we're implementing, that we're paying, I think, $60,000 or $80,000 for, and that's part of that is we paid an extra $20,000 for citizen engagement, and I don't think spending that kind of money for DORA would have gone across too well, but that may be one of the reasons we didn't do that for this. Okay.
I guess I can maybe help you a little bit, Corey. Perhaps maybe an impact study, economic impact study, could be done, and the businesses who would like to have DORA could put their own dollars into that. Would be possible, could be done. And also, I would like to see if anybody's thought about the liability costs that could happen from somebody that falls, trips, what have you.
Right, because you can't say they were only specifically in one place.
Yeah, I mean, I would hate to see the city get sued because somebody's fallen into Route 65 or
But that's
Route
what would
199.
happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, my next question then would be, have you considered what the cost of DORA might be to the community financially?
And I believe that that's all part of the presentation, what we've had with the meeting this last week, 2 weeks ago as well, and when we're all up here trying to decipher and figure out as well.
I believe that's part of why the administration released that report saying these issues need addressed. That was partly because of the money impact.
I'm just wondering because, I haven't seen the presentation, so I wouldn't know. Can you give me a figure?
Well, they'll come up and talk here as well, but a figure on what the cost would be to the city, is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
From the conversation that we'll have here tonight, we'll have some more in-depth conversation, most likely on what resources the city will have to put aside, as well as what the businesses will be working on this.
How about the DORA cups? Where do those come from?
Those would be the businesses that would.
Okay, so they buy them?
They would take care of all this from what I understand. I'm looking around here just to verify, but I'm pretty sure that if I read through that correctly, they're the ones who are going to be taking care of the cups.
So you just vote yes or no, and if you vote yes, then it's up to them to take care of policing, cups, and the rest of that stuff.
For the most part, they'll be.
That's frightening. That's a little scary to me. Seriously.
I don't think that's correct.
Okay,
as a part of the DORA approval, if that's the way council goes, it will have to, there's several exhibits to the ordinance we passed. It'll have to spell out whatever the city's going to require as far as security, sanitation removal, all those sorts of things. So it isn't that we grant the DORA and then just let them do whatever they want to do.
Well, and I wasn't suggesting that. I was suggesting there was a cost to all of this.
Yeah. And the other thing I want to mention is that the DORA, if approved, you made a comment early on that was a correct one. What if there are unanticipated consequences? If we approved it, I'd suggest that we say it's only good for a year or two, and then it's periodically reviewed. And if Laura is here, our law director, I think council at any point can revoke the DORA. If it's, Laura, our law director, is confirming that if this turned into, a Mardi Gras every night of the week, then council could revoke it.
Well, probably from November to February it wouldn't.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Would be my guess.
Yeah, I don't think we have Mardi Gras in February in Perrysburg.
I would add that
when the merchants made their presentation last week, they were fully cognizant of the fact that it can be granted and it can be pulled right back.
Joy, I would add, I disagree with some of the things that Mr. McCarthy said, because the way I feel is it's like business. When you sign a contract is a contract. In this case, this group of people have, the 6 businesses, now 5, have submitted this year alone 2 different proposals, and I don't think that's fair. Last year, Levis Commons proposed 1. They were allowed 1. They're only allowed to propose 1 petition. And if you read the petition, they're talking about 25 different new signs. There will be a cost to the city. They've not come to historic landmarks. I see a lot of added costs, and I agree with you with what you're saying.
Well, that's a historic area. You don't want all that signage, I would guess.
Right.
I mean, I don't, as living in that area. What happened with...
Sorry to interrupt you. I know, Mr. Van Hoosen, you have something that you wanted to...
How could you tell?
Yeah.
So first of all, I'm going to compliment you on your questions. Obviously, you're a thoughtful lady, and you put forward some good questions, some of which will be addressed, are being addressed. But the one that I just wanted to specifically speak to is how is the city benefited? And most of our decisions are based around that question, where we put in and when we put in new water lines or sewer lines or parking. So any number of times, I personally ask myself, who's benefited and then in what way is it benefited, and then trade off those costs. And so this particular initiative is coming from the small business community of downtown. And with the petition came a number of the small businesses, and I don't know which one you work in downtown.
None.
Oh, I thought you said you did.
No,
I
I live on East 7.
I misunderstood. I apologize.
I'm a teacher.
So we're responding to this business request in which most small businesses in downtown are asking for this and telling us that they think it would be beneficial. So I just wanted to address that particular, putting together a great quality city or helping with that is like putting a puzzle together. And sometimes those puzzles fit and sometimes they don't. And this may or may not, and we do have recourse for if it doesn't, if it actually happens. So that's a great question, and it's one in which we have to address every time we make a park decision or a street decision. So that's all.
Do you have a question?
No, I'm good, thank you.
I thought you were going to say something.
No, I was just trying to
okay.
make sure that everyone has their opportunity to speak, and I do appreciate all the questions. I know that there's still going to be some more that will be answered here as we continue to dive into this.
Okay. I have one more thing that I wanted to actually know, and that is, what is the process if the DORA does not go well? Does that just come before council? Is that a scenario where people will come in and say, like this, we really find this DORA to be a real pain in our patoot and we want it gone? How does that all work? How do you get out?
I am calling our law director up to answer that for you.
Okay.
She is our resident law expert for at least a few more weeks.
Well, I can go sit down. I think I've said more than enough.
So in the event that there is an issue with the DORA, and City Council can call that in front of you at any time. Obviously, the administration has recommended that if certain modifications were made within the proposal, and we've discussed those with the applicants, that we believe that the DORA would be beneficial for the downtown businesses. We have recommended it for no more than 2 years. We've asked that City Council write in the legislation, and I've given you that draft, that it be no longer than 2 years, and you can put in even a 6-month or an annual review period in there. In the event that the DORA is, the issues raised as to whether or not the DORA should be canceled, in answer to this lady's question, City Council would have to hold a public hearing prior to doing that.
Similar type of process.
Correct.
I will mention, thank you for your thoughts, but I will mention, Ms. Elkhire, that in this document that the city gave all of us on City Council, it talks about how the city administration does not recommend DORA. And they talk about the additional considerations given to the current use as a historic district, the location with the historic district did not concern staff from a zoning perspective. Instead, other communities have used their downtown district for decor. But however, you talk about problems about municipal services, you talk about additional consideration of staff, and it goes on and on. And I read it thoroughly, and I did not see a big endorsement Some things were kind of odd, but I didn't see a big endorsement from the city administration.
Councilwoman Bourne, what I referenced is in the last paragraph entitled Conclusion. And it states that in conclusion, the administration believes that if our concerns with the application are addressed, that the DORA could prove to benefit the downtown businesses.
Well, I read above it, it says, in revising council concerns from 2019, city staff discussed the existence of a DORA as it relates to family events. The special downtown special events are family special events. While the administration has no specific concerns related to the use of the DORA in family atmospheres, the lack of formal organization of DORA participating businesses, lack of private security, and lack of private sanitation management as currently proposed places an increased burden on municipal oversight. Some of the organized events in the downtown area utilize contracted public safety forces, but not all of them. I think that's something that we don't need to have additional costs on. And the businesses down there, it should not only be favored over other businesses in town.
Thank you, Deborah.
Before I sit down, do you have any other questions on the process?
I don't think that any of us have any questions about the process is. Thank you, Laura.
Hello, my name is Katie Fields. I am one of the owners of Inside the Five Brewing Company. I am not a Perrysburg resident, although I was when I was a child. I am a future business holder or business owner in what potentially could be the DORA district in downtown Perrysburg. We also have a location in Sylvania, Ohio. We have been there for just over 2 years. I was on the ad hoc committee to implement DORA in Sylvania. I was on the small committee that came up with the boundaries and the rules and then presented it and voted, city council then voted to pass that. And that was May of 2019. So we have about a year of DORA at our restaurant under our belt. So I am speaking as a future, hopefully September, business owner in downtown Perrysburg, as well as a business owner that has about a year experience of DORA. And although I know Sylvania is not the same and it is only 2 blocks, I do think it is a comparable location with Perrysburg. So the concerns we had, I guess as a committee starting DORA in Sylvania, are the same concerns that everyone has here. The number one concern of the people in the area, the residents, are they see DORA and they think that equals drunk. DORA does not equal drunk. I can go and have 1 or 2 drinks outside. I am not drunk. As you've heard from residents, people will urinate in your yard and damage things without DORA. The irresponsible people that have too much to drink and do those things exist already, and they will continue to do that whether they can drink outside or not. That's a problem, and if that increases, I do think that's something that needs to be looked at if DORA increases that. Our experience in Sylvania, it has not increased. There has been no reports of any damage to retail anywhere within the DORA district. There has been no, I believe for 2 weeks, the police department increased, I guess, around the area, they increased their police for about 2 weeks and then realized that they didn't need it. So the amount of time, the amount of employees that the police department are employing is the same as it was before DORA. There was no increased cost with the police department. There was no increased cost with the city in terms of cups, signage, things like that. The business owners take care of the cups. They made their signs and hung them in their own restaurants. 6 months after DORA had begun, so after the busy summer months, we reviewed as a smaller committee, and there were a couple things that we added. We added a couple trash cans outside of businesses. The city did not increase their amount of pickup in terms of days, but they had 2 or 3 more cans that they had to pick up. There was just more cups outside. People have to throw away your cup outside before you enter the restaurant. And then there was about a 2-week learning curve for the community. They had to understand the rules. A lot of customers were upset knowing that they can't buy a DORA cup, go outside, come back in, go in another place. Once you leave the establishment with your DORA cup, you can't go in another liquor license, another permit holder. You can go into a retail shop, and that is up to the retail stores if they will allow that. When Sylvania started it, we believed that they weren't allowed to go in any retail stores. And so there were just signs saying you cannot enter with a DORA beverage. We later found out that it was up to them, and more than 50% of the retail stores want them to, it increases their traffic. They want people to be able to bring their beverage in. I think there's some clothing, there's boutiques that decide not to, they just don't want people to spill, which they don't allow drinks of any kind out there. So they decided not to, but most retail stores wanted the beverage to be able to be brought in to increase traffic. Like I said, we are responsible as a business to not serve drunk people. So the amount of drunk people and I don't know what the proper term for irresponsible people stayed the same. Once they hit a limit, we don't continue to serve them, whether it's DORA or not DORA. We don't give them a DORA cup and say, okay, go drink it outside, now you're not my problem. We are still liable for those people. We cannot police once they leave our restaurant though. That is on them. So when they leave our restaurant, it is up to them to follow the signs outside that say, I cannot go in this area, but I can go in this area. That is an individual responsibility, just as it's an individual's responsibility not to drink too much and get in a car and drive. It is their own responsibility, and with or without DORA, you're still gonna have problems. That's just, I guess, life. We are open 7 days a week. We are about 60-40 food to liquor sales. If that makes a difference to anybody. That did not change when DORA started. Let me see what else. I gotta look at my notes here. My glasses are fogging up. As a future business holder or business owner in Perrysburg, there's a few reasons why I do support DORA in downtown Perrysburg. One is because when people come and they have to wait for a table, instead of leaving, they grab a drink, they walk around. So they are still our customer. They wait a little longer because they can have a drink. Can they grab a lemonade or an iced tea and walk down the street? Absolutely. Do they? No. They want an alcoholic drink, and that's just the way people are. So people don't stay and wait if they can go have a pop outside, but they stay and wait if they can go have a cup of beer. So we get people to stay, especially now. I mean, when we started DORA, COVID was not a factor, but especially now when we can't have people waiting inside our building, we have to ask them to wait outside. It gets people to stay longer and wait for a table. Another benefit of DORA is for the retail businesses. People that come to downtown Sylvania to our establishment, if they come, they go in our building and they leave. If they have a drink and they walk down the street, they see a store that they may have never known about. They either go in that store or they come back, or now they know about that store. When we are busier, the retail stores around us are busier, and they do see benefit from that. Any normal day of the week, winter, we don't really sell that many. It's not a factor in winter. The nice days during the week, we get a handful of people that grab a drink. It really isn't that many people. We don't get parties outside. We don't get people loud and crazy and throw their party on the street for 2 hours. We get responsible adults having a couple drinks, walking, waiting, socializing with their friends. But the biggest financial advantage for us are the events. Every day isn't that big of a deal. The events, sometimes it's like another day of sales. Hundreds of dollars come in on special events. We have the art festivals, the First Friday art walks. Last year was the farmers market, not this year. The events is what makes a difference in sales for us. And there's just more people outside. I know, again, I'm speaking for Sylvania, but I think it's a comparable city and a good experience that we've had. And so we hope that Perrysburg does adopt DORA, because I think it would be benefit for our new business.
Ms. Fields,
Yes.
I appreciate your thoughts, and I think you might have lived actually behind where I used to live in Perrysburg. I'm in the third place now where I live in Perrysburg, but
okay.
Anyway, I have been to Sylvania and looked at your DORA, and I've looked around. I know some of the business owners down there. Some of them are my friends. I will tell you that I know that part of the street you can't basically get down right now. It's less than half a block that I saw, which is what they call the historic district in Sylvania. And every business there has to, if they want one, has to pay $20,000 for a plank. They call them planklets, I believe, that attaches kind of to the curb and into the street. I saw it. There was more than there was more than one, I believe.
Yes, we recently got 2 parklets. The business owners had nothing financially to do with that. Signature Decks was a sponsor, Lord's University was a sponsor, and Farmers Merchant Bank was a sponsor.
Okay, that may be on one of them, but I know that the business, the one in particular told me that they cost $20,000 per business owner. And those apparently were for people if they wanted to sit there.
That is incorrect, because I am the one that arranged it and gave the check to Signature Deck. Each parklet, there's 2 of them, cost $25,000, and they were all paid for by sponsors. The businesses did not pay a dime, but they reaped the benefits of having seating outside the restaurant. And that had nothing to do with DORA, but it does offer more seating, which I think does benefit DORA.
I did notice also as a result, because of that, it's difficult now to kind of drive your car down the street.
They take up 2 parking spots. So it's not a lane of driving before or after.
If I may interrupt, I'm not sure, but this is going to have to do with the DORA that we have in front of
Yep.
us. So if we can, is there another question?
I have a question.
Okay.
I was at the Levis Commons DORA city council meetings, and one of the issues that came up at the time that I remember that I'm not sure has been answered satisfactory to my satisfaction with them and in the downtown is there was a dispute if you asked liquor control if someone could take a beverage into a retail space. The agents, they would say yes. But I believe Becky Williams said if you called to Columbus and asked, they would tell you no. Do we know?
Interrupted on that as well, because that was, I called as well and got the same
Yes,
answer
Jonathan
that
Smith
Ms. Williams
did too.
did. And
Sorry
according
about
to our chief and our law director and our city administrator, if I recall correctly, when they called down to the state, the agents themselves, the enforcement arm of it, said that it is okay to walk into a retail establishment. And since they're the enforcement arm, that's what we're going off of at this point.
Okay, thank you very much.
There was some confusion of that too, and the liquor department agreed with the state that it's up to the establishment.
Which I'd like to point out that it's the same for anything. For a business owner, if someone's drinking a pop, you can tell them not to come in. To me, that's not really an issue. It's with this. But anyway, it's just a personal opinion.
I have a question for you. So you've compared a lot to Sylvania, right? Because that's what you know. When I talked to some of the people down there, I talked to the city administrator, I forget what, city manager, one of those titles. One thing he cued me in on is the downtown organization. And that, if you were at our last meeting, that was one of the big issues we brought up. It's brought up in the administrative report on the DORA proposal. Have you been contacted by the applicants for this and some of the other, there's business owners here, so if it hasn't been done, you guys should probably be on this, because I think this is going to be part of the contingencies, or it may make this easier to pass if that's what you want. an organizational plan or a point of contact for coordinating with the city and being on the same page for all the businesses, I think is one of the big issues. Have you been contacted by anybody?
Yes, we've
Okay.
met as liquor permit holders a few times and agreed that there has to be, we're all ready to be on a committee and to be the contact. We've also spoken with Downtown Perrysburg Inc. and we're in discussion of what will benefit DORA the best in terms of a committee to be responsible for that.
Okay, because I know that's one of the things I'm looking for when I look at this proposal is someone to help if there
Just
are
one contact
unforeseen
person, I agree.
issues. Yeah, some sort of accountability. So if we do have to bring this before a hearing to end it for the 2 years, if it is voted approved, that there are people that are accountable for that or could provide some of the insight on what happened.
Yep.
So.
It does mention in our information that they're asking for a DORA for 5 years, not 2.
Correct. And I think the administration has made their position clear that they want 2 instead of 5.
We could have
So-
And with a review as well.
I was going to say the city council ultimately has a determination on how long this DORA can or will be if it does pass. Is there any other questions for Ms. Fields?
Ms. Fields,
Yes.
how long did you live in Perrysburg? Because I think I kind of remember where you used to live.
Until my freshman year in high school.
Because I think, isn't your dad a police chief?
Yep, we had to, if he wanted to be the police chief in Toledo, Mr. Mayor Cardi Finkbeiner told us we had to move to Toledo.
Yeah, I recall that.
Yep.
And then I would say that we're Perrysburg, and I don't think we want to, at least from my opinion anyway, and what other people have said to me is we don't want to be Toledo, we don't want to be Sylvania,
Yep.
we don't want to be Put-in-Bay, we want to be Perrysburg. So I hear a lot of Sylvania, a lot of Toledo, and I'd really just rather see us stay Bowling Green. I'm sorry, not Bowling Green, that was a faux pas, Perrysburg, so.
Thank you, Ms. Fields. Is there anybody else who would like to come up and speak on this?
Hi, my name is Karen Fleming. I live at 26835 Mohawk Drive. I have been a resident in Perrysburg for 30 years. We raised our family here. I love that the city is trying to bring activity and stuff downtown. Riverside Park, contrary to what I think you may have been saying wasn't a good idea, is a fabulous idea. We ride our bike down there. There are people on the benches. There are people we go down there to look at the sunset, to enjoy the city. I live out near Fort Meigs schools, so I love that there's a sidewalk and we can safely bike down here. I love that we can walk around. I think anything that the city is proposing that will bring life to downtown Perrysburg, bring excitement, bring people, is going to help the city. I don't have a business down here, I'm just a citizen, and I have a lot of people that I know that are very excited about it, and they are not, I feel like everything that is being vocalized from the board for the most part is there's gonna be drunks, there's gonna be craziness, mayhem. I've been to DORAs in other cities. It doesn't make me drink anymore. It makes me stay. It makes me, when they say you have a 30-minute wait for a table, okay, let's walk around. Let's explore what's down here. Bring people to Perrysburg who don't live here and let them discover what we have downtown. Those of us who live here know what's here. I think if you have a DORA, you will invite responsible adults to come down, explore our city, and put more money into it. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
My name's Esther Hertzfeld, 1075 Cherry Street. I'm a resident of Perrysburg for the last 15 years. My husband's lived here for 20 years. Before Perrysburg, I lived in Kent, Ohio, which recently did pass a DORA, and most of my family still lives there. They've found it, and a lot of my friends still live there, they've found it to be very beneficial. Again, to what many of the business owners and residents have just said, one of our favorite places to go is Swig. Very tiny under normal circumstances. Most of the time, if we have a wait of half an hour, 45 minutes, we leave. We come to Levis Commons, we go to Social, we go somewhere else because there's a wait in downtown. That was pre-COVID. Afterwards, the waits are longer. It's harder to get into these places. If my husband and I can go and get a craft beer and walk a couple blocks around downtown and then come back for our table, that's what we'll do. We want to support these downtown businesses. We think they are so integral to what makes our town great is these downtown businesses. And I think in this COVID time, anything we can do to support them is beneficial.
Thank you.
I think going back to, I think it was Ms. Carson, what you said, I agree. We don't know what's going to be happening. This is COVID right now. We don't know what's going to be happening, and we don't know that this is going to work. So I agree with your comments.
Is there anybody else who would like to come up and?
My question is, why did the DORA out here in Levis not get voted on as a positive, as a yes? Anybody know?
I can speak
I can't
my
answer that.
recollection. I won't name any names because I don't know that it would necessarily be accurate, but when we were asked to vote, rather than just saying yes or no, people explained why they voted no, and there were several people that said no because I think it should be Uptown Perrysburg.
I feel just the opposite.
I'd like to explain why I cast my vote, because at the time, and it's still true, we can only have one DORA in town, and I believed it should be downtown. That's why I voted against the Levis DORA. And why I intend to vote for this application.
To answer your question, Ms. Carson, I remember why I voted no. The reason I voted no is because I didn't think the sanitation issues, things of that nature, were family-oriented city. Would I reconsider it now? Perhaps I would.
My name is Carrie Harris. I have been a 50-plus year resident of Perrysburg, went all through school here. I love this town. I love everything about it. But our downtown's dying. And we've got to do something to bring more businesses in. And I'm not talking bars. I'm talking more restaurants. I'm talking more boutiques like Angels, Creative Art Studios, Meg. We've got to do everything we can to support them. And that was pre-COVID, not now. They needed our help then. They need it more now. And I'm really sad that we see businesses leaving for better opportunities in other towns.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else who would like to come speak before we invite anybody else from the application? Hearing none, is there anybody who would like to come speak in behalf of the application at this point? I know we've already had quite a few come up, but Ms. Powell, thank you for joining us again, and look forward to hearing a little bit more, and hopefully you can explain.
Again, I'm not going to recite my presentation from a couple of weeks ago. I think it was thorough, and we had some great dialogue with that. I just echo all the comments that people have made. As you know, I'm a 25-year resident myself, as well as I'm still currently a business owner as of today. To address a couple of the questions, I know Ms. Bourne she brought up the fact we had two proposals, and I'd like to answer why that is. We submitted a proposal in early March, met with representatives from the city, tried to further address some of the concerns, and resubmitted the proposal to answer those questions and concerns. So that was why there was a revision made in June. As far as other support from business owners, included in your proposal were 29 letters from business owners downtown that had signed a letter of support. And I believe you may have received emails in the past few weeks.
Since you mentioned that, I'm glad you did. And by the way, I'm super sorry that your business closed. I'm very sorry about that.
It's still open as of today.
Okay.
Thank you.
I had what you put out on social media, so I wanted to acknowledge that I was
it's very
sorry about
unfortunate.
that. But I will add to, I've looked at what's going on with this, and I looked at the signatures you mentioned. And what I came up with were, of the 29 signatures, I had 12 duplicates that were for, is what I found, okay? And so you actually ended up being about 28 people for it. I have signatures, there's a petition drive going on with many people in the city that are against it. And I have so far 53 people that have said that they don't want this, okay? Now, my understanding is that it's still ongoing.
Okay. I was just speaking about the businesses that are located downtown.
Yeah, well, some of these people are business owners.
Okay.
It's just not, and I've spoken to business owners downtown that have indicated they don't want it either.
Okay.
I'm sure that once you get that, you'll distribute that amongst all the council, correct? Once you receive that list, you'll distribute that amongst all the council?
Oh, yes, I plan to give it to Dave Krebs, and he can send you all the copies, because my copier went down today.
We're having another meeting on this, right?
Yeah, this is just a public hearing, so.
So what I would also encourage, because I would love that. I don't think I've heard any business against it that's here. I would love for a representative for the people that are against it to speak as well. Just so I can hear the other side. That's important in this type of thing.
Yeah.
So.
I do want to reiterate the concerns that you have been concerns of every community that's had a DORA presented before them. In the research I did, in articles that were published, sanitation, security, drunkenness were all concerns. We reached out to Slovenia prior to our proposal being submitted, also Defiance, because at the time that was the other closest smaller community. They both responded with incredible positive feedback that the concerns that we were hearing were the same that they heard. Defiance has now had their DORA in effect for 1 year. There's been no issues with regards to security, extra police needed, sanitation. They said that they hear nothing but positive feedback from their businesses, and they're thankful that the DORA exists. To answer the question about the organization, because I know that was a topic that came up a couple of weeks ago, I did research on that as well. And most of the communities that have DORAs in place have a very large organization. And the organization usually grew out of requests from the city, and it consists of residents, business owners, restaurants, and any community member that wants to be a part of the organization to focus on the revitalization of their downtown communities. They also partner with their Convention and Visitors Bureau, and a lot of the costs that are associated with things like a DORA or other events that happen, they partner with their CVBs or chambers and share the costs and the control of what happens. We have 2 ways that we could go. I spoke with the representative of the Uptown Toledo, and we could establish a 501c6 for our downtown establishments, which would include all businesses. Or we could partner with the existing DPI, which is a 501c3. And so I've contacted them, requested a meeting, because do we really want to have a downtown organization, a DPI, a CVB, a chamber? That's a lot. And we're small businesses who are just trying to get through each day. So what's the best route for us is what needs to be decided upon. So that's where we are with that in the 2 weeks that we've had to address that. But I completely agree, as a business owner, there needs to be an overall organization. We just need to decide which way to go. And I don't think it should be up to the five establishments requesting the DORA. It should be a downtown decision.
Okay, but the five of you, well, there were the 6 of you, sorry, that did put that on the latest application in June. So I think you have to stick by what you've done in the application.
We are the committee that has requested a DORA, and the reason we've requested a DORA is to benefit the entire downtown. Okay, it is not our intent to increase our sales dramatically because of a DORA. We saw what was happening in other communities and felt strongly that having this would help us all. And therefore, an organization needs to include everyone. Okay. We are the committee presenting the DORA, though.
But
yes.
You would argue, but the average person's business closes at about 5.
Well, there's actually been studies with the communities in Ohio that have implemented DORAs. They found that because of the increased foot traffic, they have increased their hours, and they're in discussions to increase hours. So it's showing as a growing economic impact.
I question that. I really do.
Okay.
I think it's good that you're all in businesses downtown. I'm okay about that. But what I still don't understand the idea of needing to walk around, which is essentially open container all around town. I think it makes it difficult on our police department, our fire department, and those things. And I remember reading something, and I think it was one of the applications where it said something about somebody would go out and clean up the excrement on the street, which I thought was kind of funny, actually, because I thought during the winter time, it's difficult, I know, for a lot of the business owners just to do the sidewalks with the snow. So I really question what you're going to be able to do with the sanitation, and that will end up coming to us with extra services and extra monies.
I do have a question for you, Ms. Powell.
Sure.
So I know one of the comments that has been made here tonight is regarding the cost of the city and the services, especially with picking up the refuse on a daily basis. And this might be a question to the administration as well, to a certain degree. And I don't know if, Bridget, you might know the answer to this, but how often does the city go in to collect the refuse along the downtown Perrysburg area? And I'll follow that up with a question to you on that.
Good evening. I think the answer to that question, it's twofold. It depends on if there's a special event or not. Any special events that take place uptown, they try to hit the uptown area for sanitation the following day. During the regular course of business, I do believe they check the cans every single day and only pull them when they need to be pulled.
Okay. Do you happen to know how often those are pulled on a daily basis then?
I do not, but I could certainly ask our service director if he keeps any of those statistics.
Okay. And then I asked the business owners who's there.
It was 3 times a week is
Three
when they
times?
empty the trash containers.
Okay.
So it was at the time of the proposal. So.
But it's 3 times a week, but they check it daily?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
And then we as business owners also check on a daily basis.
I kind of have a add-on to that, if that's all right. And this isn't something I've looked into, and I kind of regret that I haven't. Are we able, and maybe this is more of a question for Laura, and it could certainly apply to any organization that you create to manage this. Are we able to do a surcharge for DORA cups to help with offset some of these costs? So is that something the organization can collect, or to for people that specifically buy the DORA cup? So if trash is starting to collect, they pay an extra 25 cents for their outdoor beer. I mean, that
I
sort
can
of
say
idea.
what I am familiar with in the City of Toledo's DORAs, that they have the entity that kind of oversees the DORA is their Convention and Visitors Bureau, an arm of it. And there is a charge that each, they're the ones who create the cups, buy the cups, store the cups, and then the businesses let them know when they need a new allocation. They write a check for that. Part of those proceeds go to fund the Downtown Improvement District, who takes care of the cleanup of any cups, the policing that happens down there. So whatever entity would be created to oversee the DORA, that legal entity, they could certainly put something in place that would allow for that entity to bring in extra policing, security, cleanup. That's certainly a possibility.
So that's a way that an organization, on an organizational level, they can address something that's causing an issue for the city.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, and what I've seen in the other communities, that's what the organizations are doing. There's a membership fee that businesses can, it's not required, but can pay that goes into the overall fund, and it covers things like DORA. It's not just DORA, it goes to many things that occur in the downtown, but it is one thing that they use their funds for. Again, they use CVB resources also to help cover, because they view the DORA as is anything that they would implement in the downtown as an attraction that increases participation of visitors and residents.
Okay, perfect, thank you.
actually, Mr. Tuzik has a question, but we'll probably be hopefully looking to wrap this up a little bit here soon. Since
I didn't have a question.
Ms. Powell, thank you for coming tonight. I'm probably as pro-business as anybody up here, because without businesses, I don't have a job. Longtime member of the NFIB. I don't know if you're a member of the NFIB, National Federation of Independent Businesses. Okay. I'm not going to ask you if there's a way, or I'm not going to ask the administration if there's a way we can impose an additional tax on you, whether it's called a fee or a tax, it's still taxing. I'm not interested in doing that. My comment about the Riverside Park was, we were told what an economic boon it would be. Okay, now if there's people that love that park and they appreciate it, that's fine, but it's not an economic boon. That was my point. Okay, so if we're going to make a decision based on something, let's call it what it is. And so far tonight, and what I've seen in the emails, it seems like those opposed to a DORA are opposed to it for philosophical reasons. And people that are for it seem to be for it for economic reasons. And I've heard comments from business owners tonight that they don't expect their revenues to go up or down. I've heard the gal that is doing the development on 3rd Street. You all look the same with masks on, so I don't remember who it was. But she said at least her sales mix hasn't changed. That doesn't necessarily mean they haven't both gone up. And when I asked the people from Levis Park to give me some indication of projections on what they think this is going to do for their business, financial projections, I got nothing. Nothing. I didn't even get someone throwing a dart at the wall. I couldn't get anything out of them. And the argument was being made that it was going to economically benefit these businesses, but they absolutely refused, by way of not giving it to me, any financial information to show me what that economic boom would be. And I haven't heard anything from anyone tonight that's for it that says they're actually going to improve their business, but I have heard some great comments on how it's for the overall benefit of Uptown Perrysburg, which is what I'm for. But those are words. I haven't heard any specificity as to how it's going to overall benefit Uptown Perrysburg, but I have heard it doesn't seem to benefit them economically, so I'm trying to figure out for myself how it's going to benefit Uptown Perrysburg, because absent something, someone giving me something, whether it's their own projections of how it's going to help their business financially, or information from Sylvania or from Powell or from downtown Toledo on how their finances have improved because of this, at least then we'd have some kind of empirical data to go by. So what I'm hearing is,
a little bit of that.
I'm against it philosophically, I'm for it economically.
Okay.
And the philosophical, you can't argue with these people because everyone's got a different position on that. But from the economic standpoint, I've seen nothing persuasive to show me that it is going to be an economic benefit. And if one side says I'm going to benefit economically and it doesn't pan out, and the other side is against it philosophically, they're still going to be against it philosophically with a DORA.
Sure.
And they're going to prove their point by having a DORA, and the side that's arguing for it on an economic basis is not going to be able to prove their point. So I would either need to see something from the organization or from the committee that's representing the organization that shows how they think it's going to help them economically, or an opposing philosophical argument on why we should have it versus not have it. Because I mean, we got people arguing with this. It's like a bridge that never comes together.
Right.
You know?
I think a lot of it is because it's so new. So if you look back, the DORA was implemented just in 2015. So it's a very young idea. And the pure intent of a DORA was to increase foot traffic in an area. Most of these DORA communities are in downtowns. They are not in big entertainment districts. They are located in downtown. Right now there are 35, I guess Bowling Green would be 36 that are established in the state of Ohio. I can tell you as a business owner, when there's increased foot traffic, there are increased sales, period. With COVID, we have very few, we don't have any events right now, so when there is no foot traffic or very little, we suffer, whether there's COVID or not. So to put a dollar amount, I don't think we can yet. The districts that I reached out to are still in their infancy of DORAs, So they couldn't establish a dollar amount because they're not keeping track of per DORA cup by non-liquor establishments sold. But they all say that the non-liquor establishments have seen a dramatic increase or an increase in foot traffic, which equates to more people visiting the businesses, whether they're there during the business hours of that business or they come back later. So that's how I can answer that.
Thank you. So as a businessman, are you a business person yourself, right?
I am currently
So as a
today.
business person yourself, if you're advocating this, then one would hope that you at least try to project what your costs are going to be as a business owner for this, and then you would know what your sales would have to be to at least at a minimum break even on this.
The cost right now to me would be a DORA cup. So the cost of what a cup would be, because
You're only going to sell one beer?
no, I'm just saying that that's what the cost would be to me as a business owner.
What would that cost be in dollar terms? What kind of sales do you think, you have to have thought of this if you're a business owner, what kind of sales do you think what kind of additional contribution to your bottom line are you going to have, or sales are you going to need to break even so your bottom line doesn't change, so you can at least say, at least if I get an extra $185 a week in sales, this at least doesn't cost me. You got to know what your costs are going to be, or at least a projection what you think they're going to be. So what would the minimum increase in your revenues have to be to offset the increase in your cost?
It depends on how many cups are sold. If the cost of a cup is 50 cents, then I would need to recoup that. If I'm selling...
I understand that, but you aren't going to be allowed to buy one cup at a time, are you? You can go
Me
buy,
as a business owner?
Yeah, as a business owner, you're going to have to put some money into this.
Yes.
You're going to want to get that money back. To get started, I'm assuming it's going to cost your group something. I'm not trying to argue with you, I'm just trying to understand it. It's going to cost you guys something to do this. And obviously you're hoping to get something in return for that. And at a minimum, you got to get back what you put into it. And
I agree.
you got to know what you're going to be putting into it. No one opens up a business without a business plan, or opens up a new product line without trying to figure out what their costs are going to be, what are our sales going to have to be to recoup those costs. So,
if you can, just state your name and address for the record.
My name is Chris Morris. I'm also co-owner of Inside the Five with Katie. I'm also the CFO, so I can speak personally on the costs of it. We buy them by the case at $2,000, so 50 cents per. In our first year, we sold 6,000 cups per door, depending on the beer. Depends on how much we make.
So you sold 6,000? I'm sorry. I couldn't hear you clearly through your mask. Who do you?
Yes, 6,000.
I heard you're the CFO, so who do you represent?
Inside the Five Brewing Company, I'm co-owner with Katie Fields, who spoke
So you
earlier.
sell the cups to the business owners?
No, I am the business owner.
Okay, sorry to hear. So you are a business owner, and you went through, your business went through 6,000 door cups?
Yes, the first year.
Okay, and the door cups cost you 50 cents a piece?
Yes. We could get it cheaper actually by buying them ourselves.
I'm sure the cup of beer costs more than 50 cents.
Yes, but we might make our own beer.
Okay, so it's even less for you. So 6,000, 50 cents, you had $3,000 in cups you had to recoup. Right?
Yeah.
6,000 cups.
If we sell a beer for $6 a piece, and we sell 6,000 of them,
Okay,
that
so
well
that's-
covers our costs.
Okay. As a CFO, are all your costs associated with the door, are they all variable costs? Or do you have any fixed costs you had to invest in?
Well, our business is a fixed cost. We have rent. We have
Well, no,
power.
but you're going to do what you're going to do anyway. You're kind of an odd duck because you actually make the beer. But is there any upfront fixed costs that would be required of these businesses to?
For door, no.
No, so it's all variable?
Yes.
So as long as they don't buy too many cups, they're going to make money at it?
Correct.
Correct, okay, that answers my question.
Also,
The
when it
question is
comes
how
to,
many?
I'd like to emphasize the family aspect of our business and most businesses where we are, which isn't something I know you guys don't like hearing about it, but.
But you're going to be on 3rd Street soon.
Yes, we'll be on 3rd Street very shortly. So I ask that even though you may be opposed to it or for it, keep an open mind. You know, if it does help businesses, which it has proven to do, excuse me, then why not support that?
Trying to do that, sir. I'm just asking everyone else to do the same thing. That's all.
Thank you.
All right, is there anybody that has any other public comments? I know Ms. Bourne has a couple public comments from some individuals that had sent them to her that to be read on the record. Does anybody else have anything from Hearing none, once Ms. Bourne is...
No, and Jonathan, maybe someone could explain to the audience though where the process goes from here. So they may not be aware. I mean, we're not making a decision tonight.
No, that is correct. There is not a decision tonight. This is more of a public hearing, so we get to learn the citizens' concerns as well as a little bit more about the application. Potentially, maybe I should have Laura come up and just explain the rest of the process here moving forward.
President Smith.
And then we'll get to that. Okay. And then once we get to that, we'll have Ms. Bourne read her letter. And I appreciate Laura being here for this last couple of weeks while we got you.
So, I apologize again, I always do that, I shout on the microphone. Council has some draft legislation in front of you. I included that in your packet on Friday. The statute reads that City Council must act no sooner than 30 days from the date of the first publication of this hearing and no later than 60 days. So this public hearing was advertised on July 22nd and July 29th. You can take absolutely no action until 30 days from July 22nd. As you know, you have a City Council meeting on August 18th. That falls just shy of that. So as I wrote in your summary, it would be my advice to you that we introduce it. You have action that you want to take. You either take that on September 1st or you call a meeting in between August 18th and September 1st if you want to do it sooner. You really can do it anytime after Friday of next week.
So if I understand that it can't be voted on the 18th then?
It cannot. It cannot. And it is simply because of that statutory regulation. I can't advise you to do something that's contrary to the statute. So you have, I think, 5 or 6 things that are up for discussion right now. After you look at the application, you have a say in public safety and how to address that. You have a say in sanitation, how to address that. You have a say in the hours, the days of the week, the boundaries. These are things that you have a say in. So we have presented to you the legislation that adopts everything that the application included. It adopts the hours, the boundaries, the sanitation, everything. If you want to make some changes to that's where council has to have some discussion. Give the administration the direction and we'll put something in front of you that answers those concerns. Anything else?
Thank you. Ms. Bourne, if you'd like to go ahead and read your
Thank you so much.
statement you
I
have,
really
and then
appreciate
we'll
it.
adjourn after this.
Thank you. First, I would like to mention Dalen Badenhop, Mr. Dalen Badenhop had sent out an email to all of us. I did speak with him in the meantime and indicated I would read this on his behalf. Prepared statement to City Council on August 10th, 2020 about the proposed downtown Perrysburg DORA. Good evening, my name is Dalen Badenhop. Mr. Mayor and Perrysburg City Council members, thank you for the opportunity to speak about the proposed downtown Perrysburg DORA. I am speaking as a member of Perrysburg First United Methodist Church. Perrysburg First Church is located on the corner of West 2nd Street and Walnut Street in Perrysburg. As a member of this church, I am concerned that the proposed downtown Perrysburg DORA will have a direct impact on the various ministries and community activities that take place at Perrysburg First Church. The church property, and more specifically the church parking lot, is located directly across the street from the proposed downtown Perrysburg DORA. Every day of the week, there are church ministries and community activities that take place at the church. On Mondays and Thursdays, Boy Scout troops meet at the church from 6 to 7 p.m. On Tuesdays, from 7 to 8 p.m., a women's Bible study meets at the church. On Wednesdays, which is a weekday that is traditionally reserved for church activities in many Northwest Ohio communities, 2 youth groups, our church choir, our church handbells, and a Bible study meet at the church between 6 and 8:30 p.m. Stephen ministry meetings are held at the church starting at 6:30 p.m. on Thursday evenings. When the weather is nice and the downtown farmers market is operating, it is sometimes difficult to find a parking spot close to the church. This is a problem because a couple of our Stephen ministers have mobility issues. I know this is a parking issue and not a DORA issue. He's referring to the Stephen ministry issue. but I wanted to mention it. On Friday evenings, a group of 30 to 40 people rent the Fellowship Hall. On Saturdays, 80 to 100 people attend an Alcoholic Anonymous meeting at the church from 7:30 to 9:30 p.m. The church is in the process of renovating the northeast corner of the church to include an outdoor patio. Because this patio is across the street from the proposed downtown DORA, I'm concerned that the patrons of the proposed downtown DORA might choose to sit there with an open alcoholic drink. A preschool operates in the church from Monday through Friday during the school year. Parents are dropping off and are picking up their children in the parking lot at the following times: 8:45 a.m. to 11:30 a.m., 12:45 p.m. to 3 p.m. I ask that you consider my concerns as you deliberate your decision about approving a downtown Perrysburg DORA. Thank you again for allowing me to speak, Mr. Badenhop, that is. If you have any comments or questions about my statement brought tonight, you can contact me by email, bbadenhop@gmail.com, or phone 419-461-0451. I will also say that I have another one from Mr. Kuzno. I apologize at brevity here. Good afternoon. I realize that you are very busy. Thank you for taking me the time to read this. Mr. Kuzno, by the way, is a business owner. In the last meeting, we were not given a chance to openly talk.
This is a public hearing.
Excuse
People
me,
want to speak, they need to attend
Mr.
the
McCarthy,
public
I have the
hearing.
floor. I have the floor.
We could all have 5 statements we can sit
I
here
have
and
the
read.
floor, Mr. I have the floor.
Well, I'm
I promised the
objecting-
people I would
I'm
speak.
objecting to your testimony about what people who aren't present are saying. The first statement you read, the lady sent an email today, she said disregard it.
I spoke to it's a Mr. Badenhop, and he indicated, I spoke with him that I could speak on his behalf. He told me he was strong-armed by someone. I don't know who that person was not to speak.
Ma'am, may I address that, please?
You can go ahead and speculate all we want.
May I
I'd
respond
like
to the letter,
finish
because
it, if
I need
could,
to
please.
respond to that letter, because Mr. Badenhop is indeed a member of our church, and I am the pastor, one of the pastors of that church. And so what I need to say to the public, because this is a public hearing, is that is not a statement of representation.
I believe he was saying that he said as a member.
Yes.
You said that in the letter.
Yes, but I want to make sure that it is very clear that that is not necessarily the position of that church. He's speaking on behalf of his own personal opinion. And the reason why that's valid is because he did specifically say, not that I am just a resident, but I am speaking as a member of the church. So I just want to make it very clear that the reason that I'm coming forward is just to say that it is not a representation, that is not an agreement, it's not a disagreement. It's not a disagreement or agreement. We're not holding a position on DORA at this time as staff and other members of the church, which was addressed with our ad council. So I just want to make sure that it's very clear that this is not the position, and yes, we have a direct boundary to the DORA, and it is a situation that we will have to address if necessary, and we will address if necessary as a church.
How long have you been the minister? I thought it was a man that was the minister.
We have 3 pastors. I know. I believe you're a member of the church, if I'm correct.
Yeah,
and I'm a pastor of that church.
Yeah, that's why I was asking you the question.
I've been there
because
and I've been there over 2 years.
I know Mr. Jennings.
Mr. Jennings is new.
Right.
He's brand new.
And
He just started in
several,
May.
and I know several of the ministers prior to you, but
Right.
I think that I think Mr. Badenhop, and I'm going to speak on his behalf on this one, he's speaking as an individual, and he said he's a member of First Methodist
Right.
Church.
Just all of the things that were articulated, though, were as a church.
I want to go ahead and say we understand that this is not a position of the church, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
And we understand that as an individual who
That's
made a
what
comment.
I wanted to make that clear.
I tend to support
You don't need
Mr. Councilmember McCarthy on this. This is all public records. All the council members have received this and read it and have their opinion on it and their views on it, and this is for public comment. And
Is that a motion to adjourn?
yeah, I motion to adjourn.
Is there a second to adjourn?
Jonathan, I didn't get a chance to finish Mr. Kuzno because of business owner's
So
letter.
I'm going to echo, and I will second the adjournment, but I will echo the sentiment that we have received. And I don't want to discount what Mr. Kuzno said. He is a business owner downtown. I have read his email. It was sent to all of us. Well, then he should be here to read it. It would be my position on that one. We have each received over 100 emails at this point. If we were to read all of those, it would take all night. So unfortunately, I'm going to second what McCarthy presented as far as this is not the appropriate setting for that. I would love to hear from him at the next meeting if he can make it. I'll second the adjournment, Mr. President.
Can I have a roll call on that?
Okay, Ms. Warren.
No, I didn't get a chance to finish what I was speaking about.
Thank you. Mr. Kuhlman?
Yes.
Ms. Materney?
Yes.
Mr. Matuzak?
Yes, and I would encourage him to come to the next meeting.
Thank you. Mr. McCarthy? Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Van Hoosen?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.